Welcome back, sci-fi fans. I am Andrew, and this is the Science Fictionary, and I'm here tonight with Marisha.
Hello.
Finally came home,
I know. Everyone was beginning to wonder.
Hmm.
and David. What,
Hello.
what's going on, man?
Uh, lots of fun stuff. There's too much nerd stuff going on to even keep up
So
with.
much nerd stuff.
There is, and it's just going to get busier over the next like month and a half.
Yeah,
Yep.
less than a month is Doctor Strange, then
hmm
Miss Marvel. Before we know it, we've got She-Hulk and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
lots of good
It's
stuff.
yeah. I just can't even log on to Twitter some days because I just need a break. I'm also I stopped looking at Twitter for a while because I was sick of hearing about Will Smith and Chris Rock.
Yeah,
I
Right.
love the best reaction I saw to that was Daniel Radcliffe. He was in an interview, something completely unrelated, and someone was like, "So, what do you think about that?" And his response was, "I am dramatically bored of reading people's opinions, so I'm not even gonna give mine because
Yeah.
there's no need. Like, who cares what Harry Potter thinks about it?"
Yep. That's pretty great.
yeah. No, it's been a bit much. Like, and I don't know when it's going to stop.
He was on the cover. Like I was in the grocery store today, and like People Weekly has got
Yeah.
Will and Jada Smith. It's like the slap. I was like, come on,
I'm
y'all.
just
Is
excited
there
for
really
in
nothing
20
else to talk
years.
about?
Yeah, I'm excited for in 20 years when Will Smith makes a big comeback movie about an actor who was beloved, but then something bad happened, and then he kind of became washed up, but now this is his big comeback, and then he gets a whole bunch of roles, just like Michael Keaton in Birdman.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everything that has him in it, they're slamming the brakes on. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
that Ezra Miller. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Okay,
everything.
now, like the thing is, like, there's not really much of a competition, like between levels of obnoxiousness, though. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Will Smith did it much more visibly, like on one of the most
Yeah,
televised events of the year. But like Ezra Miller did way worse things than just slap
that's what it
somebody.
seems. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, Gosh, and now
No,
there's
it
a big
sounds,
call. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it sounds like Ezra Miller did things that if any of the three of us had done, we'd still be sitting in the jail.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you can't just choke people out. It's not okay.
Oh man, now there's a big push for Grant Gustin to be recast. That's all over Twitter as well, and
I
I
think
just
it's,
think that would make things more confusing.
I think it's a sign,
So
man. I think
confusing.
it's just a sign that it's time to put a nail in that movie.
But they've
Yeah.
done so much work. They already paid Michael Keaton like $5 million, probably.
Well, they're on their third or fourth director. So it's just,
That poor movie.
2024. Can't wait.
yeah, I
Oh
don't,
man. Y'all, I don't know if I can make it to 2024. Like as brutal as this past 2 years have been, I don't know. Can
No,
we can we
the only
hold
thing
on?
keeping me going is that I have to wait another year to get the finale of Attack on Titan. So
mm,
like I
Uh,
know that y'all don't watch the show, but here's happens. Okay, so season 4 is announced. It comes out. We get to the end of it, and it hasn't wrapped up. And then the day that the final episode came out, they announced like season 4, part 2 coming next year. And we were like, okay, cool. So part 2 is gonna wrap it up, right?
right.
We got to the last episode, and my friend who reads the manga, he's like, dude, they got like freaking 30 more chapters to cover in one episode. This is not happening. And I'm like, okay, last episode ever. Oh, great. And at the end of it, season 4, part 3 coming next. Jesus. At that point, just make it 3 separate seasons.
Right.
But
Season
but
4, part 3.
I'll give it this. At least it's giving me motivation. I have to make it to next year to at
Okay.
least know what happens in Attack on Titan. So
That's fair.
at least I got that.
That's great.
Then hopefully by then something else would have grabbed my interest
Yes,
and
yes.
made me as addicted as I am to Attack on Titan.
Surely there's something out there waiting to be that exciting.
right now, I'm wondering how many of us will live to see Disney make another Star Wars movie.
And
It's
then
been
there's that.
Not just has it been a while, like nothing is like they keep announcing things and then canceling them 2 days later. Like,
Yeah, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to the David Benioff and DB Weiss trilogy.
Right. It does sound like Patty Jenkins is still making hers, but it's delayed. So who knows what that actually means.
And that was
And Ryan
such a
Johnson's trilogy, right? That they announced after The Last Jedi. It didn't even wait till after that trilogy was over. So they announced that one a long time ago.
yeah.
Like,
That's not happening.
it's like quit announcing things if you're not making it. Like
Yeah.
I
Like
that
want a
Patty
Tarantino
Jenkins
trilogy.
the
release
Tarantino
was so
Star
cool.
Wars trilogy.
Oh no. Oh. No.
You know, he's been wanting to make a Star Trek movie for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
did.
I mean, they had him down to make one, and something
Mhm.
I don't know why it got canceled, but apparently they're
okay
not
with
making
that.
it.
I could take a couple guesses.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like a really bad idea to me, but like it
But
can't
God,
be
I want to
worse.
see it.
But it can't be worse than the TV shows they've been making.
Yeah,
I mean,
it can't be.
I mean,
it can't be worse than
Tarantino.
Star Trek Nemesis.
It might be a terrible Star Trek movie, but it will be entertaining.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson will be in it.
Fun.
Captain Samuel L. Jackson
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great.
cussing on the bridge of the Enterprise.
Might as well. We've seen Picard cussing on the bridge of
That's-
whatever.
sheer effing hubris. This show's bizarre.
It's very bizarre.
Anyway, we're here to talk
That's-
about Moon Knight.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
not actually what we're here to talk about, but
Yeah, we will be back every week to talk episodes of Moon Knight, and
We
then
were sick
following
last
that up
week.
pretty quick with do what?
I said we were sick last week.
We were like
I think Andrew had the flu.
someone sent me a message said, "Are y'all going live tonight?" And I said, "Yeah, sure we are." And then like an hour later, I could barely stand up.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
No good.
yeah.
But we're better now.
So we're going to do episodes 1 and 2 tonight, and then we'll be back weekly, and we're going to try to find something to fill the gap. I want the Friday night thing to be a weekly thing, so we'll find something to fill the gap after this ends until Obi-Wan and Miss Marvel come out.
Yep.
So
It's exciting stuff.
I guess those two, we'll have to figure out how we're going to do that.
yeah, 'cause
with-
they'll be coming out at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to figure out what we're going to have to do to be able to cover both of those, but
We'll figure it out.
yeah, we'll get it. But overall, like 2 episodes in, what do y'all think about the series?
Moon Knight's really good. You know, before the second episode, after the first episode, I really couldn't decide if I liked it. I think it's interesting, and I appreciate that. It definitely caught my interest. I was gonna keep watching it, but I couldn't decide if I liked it. But after this, I really liked it. The second episode did a great job, really endearing me to Steven, which was kind of my problem because watching the first episode, the whole thing I was thinking like, okay, yeah, I get what they're doing here. This is interesting storytelling, but I kind of really want to see Mark Spector.
Right.
And now here we are at the end of the second episode, which by the way, spoilers.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself like, oh man, I'm kind of sad to see Steven go. But I'm also excited for what they're going to do if that like now kind of Mark is switched over to the main character and you've got Steven in the background. I'm sure Steven will make a return eventually. Really, really interesting way of telling this story.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And the second episode did a really great job playing up the dual identity thing. Now that Steven is aware of Mark, the conversations they're having, especially that whole scene at the end when Mark is talking to Steven and Steven's in the glass, that was an excellent
Right, yeah.
scene. And that was what finally sold me on Oscar Isaac, by the way. Everyone's been talking about how much of a great job he's been doing. And I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, he's good. But then at the end of that episode, seeing that, I was like, okay, yeah, no, he's nailing it.
Mm-hmm.
That really did everything I wanted to see. And the action in episode 2 was on a whole other level. The,
Yeah, it
the
really
action in
was.
episode 1 I really liked. You know, even though we didn't get to see most of it, but
Right.
I thought it was really well shot and like a really cool way of presenting the story. I really enjoyed seeing that. I'm glad they didn't keep doing that.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm glad they didn't do that beyond the first episode, but doing it in the first episode, I thought was a really interesting way to show how Steven is experiencing these things.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And I love that. It's like, because not only is it, the Moon Knight persona, the with the wearing the suit, that's a badass too. Mark is as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Mark
Yeah.
is a force to be reckoned with on his own, in his own right. And we don't see the fight, but we see the aftermath of the chaos that Mark causes.
I vandalized Lou.
Yeah.
But the first episode was, I really loved the first episode. I love the way, I didn't really expect them to really not show us anything but Steven until
Yeah.
the end of the episode. And so I'm kind of curious how that's going to play the whole time. I mean, we did get kind of a hint in the second episode that there have been other personalities,
Mm-hmm.
but that currently it's Steven. And so I'm curious to see if we will see any others. I did think it was really funny that the Mr. Knight persona is just
That
it's
was
just
great.
Steven in the suit.
That was
This is Steven's version of putting on the suit.
so great.
Misinterpreting what he means, like
Right.
put on the suit, he's like suit, and yeah, that was really awesome. I like seeing that a lot, and
Mhm.
I like seeing Steven sort of become his own hero.
Mhm.
I think they did a really cool job of, like I said, endearing me to Steven when he's having that conversation with Ethan Hawke's character, whose name escapes me. What's his name?
Is it Harrow?
Something
I
like
think
that.
so.
Having that which, by the way, Ethan Hawke's doing a fantastic job as well. I'm loving him in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
But he's having the
great.
conversation, and he's like, "Wait a minute, you kill kids?" Like, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, no." Steven would care. Yes, Steven wants this out of his life, and he was ready to give him the scarab when he could. But then he starts thinking about it, it's like, "Oh, I don't know about that one, bro." So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, "Oh, okay."
It's really interesting because he's, I think, going to be the moral grounding. Because like clearly, I mean, Mark is a mercenary. His moral compass is a little askew.
Yeah.
You kind of just get the impression, just from what we've seen so far, he's whatever, I'll do it. I'll do whatever. He just, whatever ends he has to do to get, whatever means he has to employ to get to the end he's after.
Yeah.
He's going to do it. And now that Steven is kind of asserting, now that their block is down and Steven's asserting himself more, I think that we're going to see, I think that's going to be a really interesting moral dynamic, because clearly Steven's got a strong moral compass and he's appalled by these things. And Mark probably doesn't really have much of a conscience anymore at all.
Well, that's what I'm interested in seeing, is not just, I mean, I'm not that familiar with the comics. I know there are other personalities. I don't know what purpose those personalities serve, or if they always serve a purpose, or if they're just personalities that have to be dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, I get the distinct impression that Steven is meant to serve a specific function.
Mm-hmm.
And is it just meant to function as Mark's conscience?
Is he just Jiminy Cricket?
Right.
Yeah. I try not to think too much about the comics when it comes to this stuff, because the MCU is notorious for reinterpreting a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to view it as this show, just from the point of view of this show as its own story. And you're right, like, what is the purpose? Why is it here? What happened? I mean, Ethan Hawke brings up that great point. Is like, I wonder if Khonshu chose you because your mind would be so easy to break, or because it was already broken. Layla, she talks about it like, oh, is Steven Grant your newest secret identity? Like, it's your newest persona, as if he's done this a lot. But
Right.
This seems to be the first, as far as we know, it might not be. This seems to be the first time that this like secret identity that Mark made up for mercenary purposes has actually manifested as its own personality.
Mm-hmm.
Or has it been there since he was a kid, as Steven lived his own life? Like, has it always been in the background? I have no idea what they're gonna do with that. Also, they talk about how like Mark is is telling Steven, like, let me finish his job. You'll never hear from me again. So I'm getting the feeling that he's saying, like, Mark is literally willing to just go back inside of
Mhm.
Steven's head and just be done and just live like that and be over with and let Steve have his life. If he could just repay his debt to Khonshu, his
Mhm.
service to Khonshu. Or maybe Mark's lying to him. I don't know. Or maybe part of his deal with Khonshu is that Khonshu can get rid of all of these alternate personalities, and Mark is saying, like, you'll never hear from me again, as if Steven's going to be done and over with once he's able to
Mhm.
finish his mission and get Khonshu's help, and Khonshu can keep up his part of the deal. Or
Mhm.
maybe we'll see more personality. I hope we see more personalities.
Yeah,
It's gonna be fun.
yeah, for sure. So overall, how are you feeling about the series?
I'm
2
really
episodes in?
enjoying it. It's different,
Mhm.
I'm the Disney Plus Marvel shows continue to do a really good job of being their own distinct things. It's not like, okay, it's just like, even like Falcon and the Winter Soldier was a little bit like, okay, it's like a long Marvel movie, broken up into little bits. This one it's a very distinct thing, and I'm really enjoying that. And I think they're dealing with a lot of really interesting concepts, in sort of the same way that WandaVision did. A lot of kind of heady, philosophical and moral implications to all these things that are going on. And speaking of morals, like, Khonshu's definitely not a good guy, is he? Like, he
He's
may
not.
not he may not be as bad as some of the other options, but you definitely get the impression that he's morally gray at
Right.
best.
He's definitely taking advantage of Mark.
For sure.
And he's it's like, oh, I'm gonna take Layla if
Mhm.
if you don't cooperate. But at the same time, he talks about how, like, he's vengeance, and I believe him when he's saying that. It's a really cool contrast they've set up with Ethan Hawke's god that he's worshiping.
Mhm.
Of she
Right.
kills before these things are done, and it's a really interesting moral question. Um, I'm really liking Khonshu as a character.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I'm curious if we will see any version. I mean, any physical form version of Amit.
I think we've got to, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think
before
that'd be
it's all
cool.
over.
Um, and of course, we kind of get the idea. Amit is definitely a twisted, evil entity.
Yeah, for sure.
We're not quite sure about Khonshu, but I did see someone that had pointed out that this is actually our third African god having a human avatar in the MCU. I didn't think about that, but that's what the Black Panther
Yeah.
is another Egyptian god in past.
And what's the other one?
Well, we have Harrow is an avatar for Amit.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, I got you. So yeah, it's three African gods. Yeah, that's a good point. That's kind of cool. I didn't think of it that way. So it's like, yeah, Khonshu's been some disowned by the other gods, like outcast by the other gods. Probably talking about the Black Panther god as well.
Mhm.
In that in there, and there's a bunch of other gods. We're gonna get Zeus. We know
Mhm.
for sure. So we're getting the Greek gods, and that's really cool. We got the Norse gods, obviously.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how far they wanna go with the, I
Is
mean, we
Con
already we got the Eternals as well that
right?
represent a lot of the Greek stuff,
I
so,
wonder if Thor's like hung out with Khonshu.
I
Maybe
mean,
I'd
back in
love
the
why
day.
that.
not?
That'd be awesome.
Like,
I'd love it if Moon Knight and Thor met, and Moon Knight's talking about his god. He's like, "Oh, Khonshu, yeah, yeah, I know
Never
Khonshu."
did like him.
right,
Yeah, never
and
did like him. Yeah.
well, that's
Um,
kinda one of the things as they set up all of these additional gods, we have to see how they've interacted
Mhm.
in more, in ancient times. In fact, I would be really down to see a movie where we see these gods when they all first came to Earth.
Avengers 1,000,000 BC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a comic book that actually
right.
it
Oh,
features I think it features Khonshu. It's I know it's Odin. I know it's Phoenix Force. Um, Probably Khonshu's in there. A bunch of old entities and stuff like that. So yeah,
That's
that would be
cool.
very cool. Something like that. I
Mhm.
doubt we'll ever get something like that, but also never say never. I mean, we got a freaking Eternals movie, so
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's on their radar right now because they've got so many other things going on, but I do think it would be really cool. Just like my favorite thing in Zack Snyder's Justice League was when we see the old
Mhm.
gods,
yeah,
fighting. I'm like, that's the movie I want to watch.
yeah,
Right, that one scene
I
there at the
agree.
beginning of the movie.
But um I really love the camera work in this. I love the
Mhm.
use of reflections and
And
shadows and
lots of
the
interesting
um
angles and
they're
things like
doing a
that.
lot of really, really interesting things with the camera.
Mhm.
There's some cool stuff, and same with the editing. But then there were a couple shots where I was like, that looks so uh I don't know, college film student. Like there's this one shot where
Mhm. There are a couple where they
You see
tried
like
something
the
that doesn't
flat
really work.
like Steven's running from Khonshu in the storage unit, and there's the flashing lights and everything there. But then there's this one shot where it like pauses for like a second on him with a big flash of light. He goes, ah! And it pauses for a second and then cuts to him falling onto the street. I was like, what was that? They're trying something, and I can appreciate
Yeah.
that, but that sucked. I hated that. That took me out of it. That's really my biggest criticism, though.
Yeah.
That 1 second scene. So, and that's my biggest
Mhm.
criticism of the show. I think they're doing something right.
Yeah, it could be worse.
I've really liked, especially in episode 1, some of the things they did with the reflections in water,
Mhm.
where you were getting a reflection and then it showed you what you thought was real and it's just a secondary reflection. And so we keep
Mhm.
getting these, kind of this idea that you're looking deeper and deeper into this.
It's very artsy,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. There's a lot of kind of imagery and the MCU isn't always huge on those kinds of really artistic things.
Yeah.
Um, and they always are as
Well,
far
that's
as
kind of
like
the nice thing about shows is you really have
right.
more opportunity to explore interesting,
Mhm.
just visual concepts.
Yeah.
Where if you do that with a whole movie and it doesn't work, then
Yeah,
you've screwed up. But if you have an episode of a TV show where it's like, yeah, don't do that again.
Right.
Like, ugh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
That's interesting. Doctor Doom Easter eggs. I don't really know anything about Doctor Doom. So pretty much the only thing that my experience with Doctor Doom is my kids watching Superhero Squad. There's Doctor
um,
Doom makes an appearance in Superhero
I,
Squad,
I
but
like to
that's
think
all I
I
know
know
about
a lot
Doctor
about
Doom.
Doctor Doom myself. I didn't catch any Easter eggs, but also I wasn't really looking for them or paying much attention to that kind of
yeah.
thing. I was just
Mhm.
enjoying the show. They might have mentioned, for all I know, they could have
That
mentioned
was his
Latveria.
castle.
I don't know.
Ooh. Huh.
Oh,
That could be interesting.
that's
The
really cool.
And we know Doom is coming. Like this is,
Yeah.
it's going to happen soon. I don't know if they'll do it in the first Fantastic Four film or not, but it's coming.
What if Doctor Doom is on the multiversal Illuminati? That'd be
I
cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just
I
spit.
mean,
I'm just spitballing.
oh god, I mean the thing is when they show us the Illuminati, it could be anyone.
It could literally be Ben Affleck's Daredevil. Like who knows?
Yeah.
Um so yeah, there's a lot of
I'd
I
love it
didn't
if he went to Latveria.
I miss this stuff.
Oh, it was Mark Von Doom. That's cool.
That's very cool.
So
That's
yeah, I
really.
mean that's awesome. I miss that
It'd be
stuff.
very awesome if they went to Egypt and it'd be very awesome if somehow their journey took them to Latveria. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, well they
Um,
never told us where they went, where he was. So
You just kind of got it had a little bit of a like
Eastern
Eastern
European
European
feel,
vibe,
but yeah.
oh wait, where? What are you talking
The
about?
town that he goes to where he steals the scarab.
Oh, where he was. Okay, yeah, I thought you were about at the end of the second episode when we clearly
Yeah,
see
no.
the pyramids. I was like, what do you mean?
Really?
He's in Egypt.
Right.
It's the pyramid.
Yeah, no,
Okay, but
the town where he runs into Harrow.
Yeah.
gotcha. Um,
Little cult
one
town.
of one of my favorite things was that just reminds me, and if we're kind of just going off, Harrow. I loved the scene when he was talking to Steven and was like, "Is Kanji talking to you right now?" And like the
Mhm.
wind's blowing. That was really really cool stuff. I really love that whole scene between Steven and Harrow. Um, I also love the
Yeah.
thing where they left them alone with that walkie-talkie just to prove that it really is multiple personality disorder or
Right.
dissociative identity disorder. Um, I thought that was really cool. And then finding out Harrow was a
He-
former
Yeah, he was a
uh,
former avatar
Yeah.
of
Avatar.
Khonshu.
That's the word. I was looking for, Avatar of Khonshu. That's really cool. Uh, He's a really compelling villain so far. I'm really into
Yeah.
him. I really like him a lot. I think he's really cool. I think he's really scary while also like inviting and
Mhm.
like I want to believe that he's a good person. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the way
no,
he
I mean,
talks,
I don't think that he's just purely evil.
certainly not.
I
No.
do think that Amit is gonna, play the role of evil here. But I'm wondering what Harrow's role is gonna be in
He
it.
just drank the Kool-Aid.
He
Yeah.
drank the Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Well,
You're
it's the
definitely
same. It's this thing we've done before. It's this, we've addressed at other times as, punishing evil. But let's just, it's the
it's
well,
Minority Report.
it's Minority Report. It's, can
Mhm.
we do it before they commit the crime? Let's just
Yeah.
go ahead, um, you know, just end it now, and we'll only have good people left.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that never ends well. Like
No.
anytime
And
we ever pursue that, it's never ends
you
well.
know, I get the feeling he hasn't been doing this for too long of a time. Like not like maybe a few years, but it's not like he's been doing this
Mhm.
forever. So like it hasn't really been proven whether or not this god that he's following is even correct. Like
Mhm.
for all we know, the god could be evil and could be lying, and actually he's killing off all the good people
Yeah,
and what's left are the bad people for all we know. Like
Yeah.
that's the problem with this kind of stuff. It's like who gets to make that call?
right.
Mhm.
And that's
And
the
this
thing
god's
is,
getting to make it, and how can we trust that this god you're right, Marisha, he drank the Kool-Aid. He just is like, yeah, no, this god's right. And for all we know, the
Mhm.
god could just be like, nah, no, I was actually tricking you. They're all evil. I mean, they're all good
Yeah.
guys you killed. That old lady was
right.
like the sweetest person on the planet.
Mhm.
Right. And that's the thing is, we don't know how, because if we go back and look at the pantheon of gods, Amit is not a judge.
Right. She's the executioner. She's Hela.
Yeah. She's not the judge. Osiris and, and Anubis both play the role of judge. Thoth
Mhm.
plays the role of advocate. This is simply the entity that's there to basically extinguish
Mhm.
the
She
dark,
eats the heart.
dark
Mhm.
souls. Yeah.
But if Khonshu is so righteous or and he serves out true justice, then why was he apparently like exiled by the gods?
Hmm.
I want to know what he
Yeah.
Mhm.
did. I'm sure the gods weren't mad at him for using humans to do their bidding. Like I'm sure that's not the
Right.
problem. It's got to be something that he did to the gods, or that a disagreement that he had, or something.
So is
And
he actually exiled? Because we know that Amit was like cast out.
Harrow said that, but again, can we really trust him? Um,
Right.
He's an unreliable narrator,
right.
probably.
But then Khonshu didn't argue with it,
Hmm.
Hmm.
so I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're necessarily dealing with a clear cut good versus evil here. Like
No, I think
there's a
we got
lot of
shades of
muddied
evil going
water,
on.
and we're gonna get some twists and turns along the way.
Yep. Okay, y'all, though, can we talk about how much F. Murray Abraham sounds like Leonard Nimoy?
He
Uh,
really
It
does.
is that
sounds,
Khonshu?
That's Khonshu, yeah.
yes,
Yeah, it does.
so much. Like I was listening to it and
It's
I was
cool.
like, what, like this is real. Like, why is this so familiar? I was like, oh, it's Decepticon. Yeah, what was the Decepticon? The one that Leonard Nimoy,
Megatron.
Megatron. Yeah. Um, it's like that's what it sounded like. It sounded like Megatron and that Transformers movie a few years ago that Leonard Nimoy voiced. It was like
Yeah.
it was very bizarre because it's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, he's gone. Who is
Yeah.
this? Who is this
It's a
voice?
very cool voice. It's really good performance. I'm really liking Khonshu a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
a really cool voice.
Yeah,
Um,
haven't heard anything from him in a while. Like
Yeah.
he was Salieri and Amadeus back in the day. But Honestly, off the top of my head, I know he's done other things, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But he sure is enough killing the Khonshu
So
boys.
there are some interesting things going on, just little things that are mentioned, like the little girl he talks to in the museum in the first episode.
Yeah.
And he's telling her about the field of reeds and where souls go, and the little girl mentions, where, how did it feel when you were not allowed to cross the field of reeds? So I'm assuming that I'm curious. I think that it's more than just a simple thing. One, it's freaky that the little girl asks that. But the other part of that is Joker voice is in the room. I don't think Joker has enjoyed this show.
Oh no.
But the has Mark died? Has Khonshu actually resurrected Mark, and maybe multiple times?
I think that's definitely what happened.
Yeah.
And I like the way they're kind of feeding us that backstory. We don't know how long Mark has been doing this. In fact, we really don't know how long Stephen Grant has been around and living his life. For all we know, that started up whenever after Mark became Moon Knight. I have no idea. The show doesn't blow. We are. But they talk about he owes them, and I think it's gonna go with the sort of comic book story there. If he was in the desert and he died in the desert basically, and Khonshu saved him,
right?
And that's why he owes Khonshu that. So I think it definitely like Mark Spector died.
Yeah, no, I think that's certainly the case, and I'm not even sure that he hasn't revived him multiple times. In fact, I'm not even sure that what allowed Stephen to start waking up in the middle of that series of events wasn't that. I mean, Mark jumped from a pretty high window in that castle.
Yeah, what if he was dead?
Right.
And woken up, and just accidentally Stephen was the one that woke up. And
yeah. I know I definitely get the impression that Mark owes Khonshu. He's not a believer, like the way that Harrow
is a true believer.
He's a true believer. Mark is not a true believer. He's just he owes him. He's going to pay his debt. I mean, it has happened. I'm not going to lie. We have at some point given writers too much credit.
But
I'm optimistic.
Well, and we will come back. I mean, honestly, if we're envisioning something grander that just never fleshes itself out here, we will call that out. So
Mephisto. It all goes back to Mephisto.
Oh yeah, gotta love Mephisto.
I think Mephisto. I wonder if Mephisto and Khonshu have been hanging out.
Probably.
They're in the other world. So why have we found out exactly why do these gods have to have an avatar? Is it just that they for some reason can't touch the mortal world?
Well, Harrow actually said all Khonshu was blowing that wind, and it was don't worry, that's all he can do unless you give him control. So I think that you hit it spot on that they need the avatar for that reason, because that was a good way of showing it. All Khonshu could do is just make that wind blow around.
Well, and Harrow also mentions they're preparing for Amit's return, right?
Yeah, so that's why he needs to find her tomb, which you need the scarab to do that. So the scarab, apparently they had it at that house or whatever that Mark broke out of. So if they already had it, how come they didn't already go to the tomb? Maybe there's a reason for an explanation for that. I don't know.
Yeah, that does seem to be a little bit of a plot hole there.
But maybe it'll get explained, or maybe we're giving the writers too much credit. I don't know.
Well, it did sound like. Okay, so the soldiers that come to Harrow say the exchange went poorly, so they were supposed to be buying the scarab off someone.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We don't know who, and Mark.
So maybe
shows
Mark
up
was
and-
he was interrupting the
The trade-off.
trade.
That's
Okay,
that's the
that makes more
impression that I
sense.
got.
That makes more sense. Okay, I'm cool with that.
We'll go with that. That's
Um,
my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So, I mean, what other things did you like? I mean, we talked about. Or is there anything? I mean, is there anything you haven't liked so far? And I'm kind of with David. Like, there's some things they went for with camera stuff that some of it's really cool, some of it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's the first episode. I think this show would have been better served to have dropped 2 episodes at the same time, because I think I enjoyed the first episode, but it wasn't a whole lot. It was a little more psychological than anything else. And I feel like the second episode really picked up a lot pacing wise. So
Yeah.
I think I'll probably enjoy the first 2 episodes more as a unit than I necessarily enjoyed the. I mean, I enjoyed the first episode, but I think that the second episode makes it a little more of a story as opposed to just like weird stuff. Okay, here's my thing. Okay, and I know this is a little nitpicky, and I know like technically a lot of people know that that the character has multiple personalities, right? But like the first episode read as like this mystery. What's going on? They told you in the dadgum summary, the episode summary,
Yeah.
Mark Spector, mild mannered,
Stephen Grant.
Stephen Grant and his other personality, Mark. It was like, if you were gonna read the whole first episode as this like what's going on kind of thing, why would you tell us in the episode summary what's going on? I feel like for that reason the first episode fell a little bit flat, because there was like it was the story was told like it was some kind of question, but they already told you the answer before you even turned the episode on. So I didn't love that.
I get that. I do think that they were mostly operating on the assumption that most people had familiarized themselves with at least the basic premise of who Moon Knight is, because that's basically what the synopsis was.
Yeah.
Right.
I see what both of you are saying.
But
I agree
for me,
that
it doesn't bother me, but like it did bother you. So that's,
Yeah.
It clearly bothered some people more than it did me. So I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have enjoyed if the first 2 episodes dropped together, but I mean, like, I could say that, but I would enjoy it if the whole series was right here for me to binge right now,
Yeah.
So
I think that most of the series that have come out so far, and this goes for Star Wars or Marvel, like just drop 2. If you're not going to drop the whole series, at least drop 2.
yeah. No, my biggest problem with the show, I think, was in episode 1. I think that Steven was a little too cringy, a little to a point where to me he was almost unlikable, and I was kind of just getting annoyed by like how long it took him to figure out like obviously something's going on and you have multiple personalities, and it's like this guy just showed up and did this weird thing with the cane, but you're just working in the gift shop still right now, like later on, and like I was kind of getting annoyed with Steven. But by the second episode they fixed that. They turned me around on him, and it really endeared me to the character, to the point where I'm actually like I see it almost as his story. I don't know yet if that's going to be a fault, because on one hand, I think it's good storytelling just looking at the show by itself of like the story with Steven. On the other hand, I'm ready to see my Mark Spector show. The show
Right,
about
yeah.
the cool Moon Knight guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the show just was not the show has not been cool until that last 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting, but it hasn't been like, I'm not just like, oh, Moon Knight is the coolest character ever. It just, you haven't given me enough to make me really like the character yet.
Yeah.
because we've mostly focused on Steven.
Right.
Right.
And Steven's just not that interesting, and he's never gonna be.
Yeah.
He's certainly not cool.
No. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. I mean, I honestly think that they could make a terrible mistake here and run the whole thing from mostly Steven's perspective.
Yeah. I hope. I
Like
mean,
Steven might be our main character.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope that now it's sort of like him and Mark did a bit of a swap, and we're gonna get a
Mhm.
lot
Mhm.
more. Now the show's about Mark, with Steven being in the background, but I still want to see Steve. It's actually a really interesting conflict that's created in me as a viewer because on one hand, like I know that Steven, I don't know the like, I don't know how DID is viewed in the medical world or in society in general. So I don't know if what I'm about to say is false or wrong or looked down upon, but Steven isn't real.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or is he? Like, how do you? I don't know. That's actually a really interesting question. Is well, he has a life. He believes that he is real. He's a personality inside this guy's body. Is he real? Is he? And does he deserve a social security number of his own? How do we handle that as a society? Even I don't have the answers to that question, but that it creates an interesting question. Like, on one hand, he's not real, but on the other hand, I still really kind of want to see him get his life together.
It's kind of interesting because I feel like Mark has some. He's on some level invested in Steven. Like he's going through all the motions of making Steven feel like, he's not waking up in the middle of the night and going gallivanting. He's putting the tape back on the door. He's, making sure there's a footstep, all these
He
things.
bought him a new goldfish.
He bought him a new goldfish and went looking for one with only one fin to be told that, that Nemo story is not how things work. So I think that, yeah, it's kind of an interesting. It's definitely interesting, an interesting thought exercise, and it's also interesting. A lot of times, these types of characters are straight up villains, right? So, like, what was that? That
Split?
Stephen King, yes.
That was
So
M. Night Shyamalan.
right.
Not Stephen King.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a Stephen King story.
No,
Split. No, yeah, that's M.
No.
Night
it's
Shyamalan.
Okay,
part
it's
of
just
M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable universe.
Okay. I didn't actually see it. I've just seen references to it.
Right.
So it's interesting, like you said. And in some ways I kind of feel like maybe Stephen Grant is who Mark wishes he could have been, like the peaceful life he wishes he could have had. Like he's trying to help him, he gets him a date and he's kind of tries to make him feel better about his goldfish and all the things. So
Yeah, I like that interpretation.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like maybe he kind of feels like he owes it to Steven. Like, it's not Steven's fault that Steven was created,
mhm.
and it's not really fair to him. Can you bring up that comment again from Joker Voice?
Sure.
That Mark Spector's the person that is not mentioned and won't be mentioned. I'm sorry, man. I don't know. I don't know what you mean. Like, has it been said that he won't be mentioned, or are you just spitballing? I mean, it's cool to spitball. We're all about spitballing here. I mean, if it's been said that he won't be mentioned, then I think okay. But just saying he won't, he might, and also like I think this is a Moon Knight story. I disagree. I don't know what you mean by this is a story with Moon Knight as a vehicle. I'm just not sure what you're getting at.
It's always one of those things. Like I feel like for these sort of long form stories, you can say like, "Oh, I enjoyed it for what it was," but it's really hard to make any kind of judgment about it till you see the whole picture.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's hard to say, yeah, I love this show. I don't like this show. I like what we've done so far. I think it could go some very interesting places. The comment about Harrow not being the same as the comics. And I'm going to be the first to tell you, I know next to nothing about these comic books.
Mhm.
based on these characters.
I know nothing about Harrow
And
myself.
I think that the Harrow that they have set up is a very compelling villain with his connection to Khonshu. The fact that, that he's a true believer. He's not just whatever this is that he's doing, it's not just for show. Putting the glass in your shoes, like this is the thing you do. It's a test. You're testing yourself, but he's not doing it. He's not out there doing it
Yeah.
for all of his followers. He's not out there walking on a bed of coals or a bed of glass to prove himself to
Mhm.
anyone. He's putting it in his shoes
And
where no one sees it.
that's almost scarier.
No, the true believer, like a true believer when it, and on the side of evil is always scarier.
Yeah,
This is scarier than just the cult leader who's just out there to get people,
right.
who's just out there to take their money, take everything from them.
Yep.
This is different. This is a different level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm really like that was a really cool opening to the show. Like to put in the oh, it's Mark doing some kind of ritual for Khonshu. Is what I 1st
Mhm.
thought
Mhm.
Right.
during that opening, but then revealed to be him. I thought that was really really cool, really well done. Yeah, I don't know anything about Harrow from the comics. I'm just kind of now no I like comic books. I've never read a comic book with Harrow in it, so I know nothing about it. I've heard that he's sort of like a amalgamation of a couple different characters, really.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of just trying to view this as what it is on the TV show, and what it is, what I'm seeing, I really like.
Yep. That's fair. And like it's one of the I always hope that these things don't suffer from Force Awakens syndrome where I'm like, yes, and then it fails to deliver. So I mean, just like it's a show, I'm hoping
Yeah.
that. So I'm optimistic though. I'm always optimistic. I feel like for everything except Batman. I was not optimistic about Batman. I was like, don't even want to see it. But now David sold me on it, so now I have to go see it.
Yeah, I'm optimistic as well.
I'm especially optimistic about things that I already have paid to have in my house and I don't have to actually go out and do any extra effort to see.
Yeah,
Like I've already got Disney Plus. We got to watch something. So
I do see a couple of other people. I see Nicole and Lunar Girl have joined us in the chat. What do y'all think about Moon Knight?
Yes, we have established that Dragon Buddy does like it, and Joker Voice is not a fan.
Fair enough. And we don't. We need Daniel here. Daniel
Yes.
might have been the one that may
did he
not be
like it? Do
falling
you
on our
know?
side
I
tonight.
haven't talked to him about Moon Knight. I haven't had
Okay.
a chance to.
Okay.
But maybe next time. Oop! I just bumped my camera.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Well, that's one thing you can always count on your dad for is he's always got an opinion. No shortage of it. And sometimes I do suspect that he's got to have the other opinion because we can't all have the same opinion. So
Yeah.
somebody's got to take the other side.
It sounds like we're all on the same page tonight. There have been some of these shows where we have absolutely not been on the same page.
It's true.
But
Yeah.
let's see. Here's Nicole.
Yeah. I think that pretty much sums up. I like it. I don't love it. It's interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where it goes. I mean, WandaVision was like, because I'm such a nerd for like old sitcoms, so I was instantly like taken with the. So it's not quite as engaging off the bat, but I always enjoy Oscar Isaac. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Oscar
a lot of fun to
Isaac's an
watch.
interesting one because as a person, I really don't care for Oscar Isaac. The things that he is always out running around out there spouting, but at the same time, the guy's a terrific actor.
Yeah,
He was one of my favorite parts of
he really
Dune.
is. Oh, he was incredible in Dune.
I want to see him play the just straight up badass, like David's saying. I want to see Mark. I want to see Moon Knight. More than we see the others here. Other than more than we see Steven here for a little bit.
Yeah.
I do appreciate some of the acting things with that first scene with the Scarab, where he's doing one thing with his body while just being like
That
You
was
know,
cool.
his face, he's totally frantic,
Yeah.
but
That
his
was really
body is like acting against what he's doing with his face, which
Yeah.
was impressive. You
Yeah.
know, the guy's a good actor.
Yeah, he really is.
It was cool.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it's so fun to watch these things with my kids because they're like, wait a second, is that Poe? You know, because like they have such a limited reference for these actors. The best though was when we were watching the Nativity movie over Christmas. They're like, wait a second, because he plays Joseph, and then and
mhm.
so yeah, it's always fun to watch the kids like freak out about that actor that they've seen in something else before.
Yeah.
I agree, Joker voice. That WandaVision's most ambitious.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
WandaVision
Yeah.
was great.
No, I agree with that.
Loved WandaVision.
Hey, fellas, I hate to do this, but I actually got to bow out a little early.
All right, man.
We've I apologize. I just had some other stuff I gotta attend
We'll never forgive
to,
you.
and I didn't
Never.
realize we've been going 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Have
We're
we
fixing
really?
to wrap
I gotta-
up anyway.
yeah.
So,
All
All
right.
right. Thanks for coming on, David. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, David_JG Peoples on Twitter. I
That's you.
will see you guys later.
all right,
All
man.
right. Awesome. Good night, David.
Good night.
Good night. All right. So,
Look at him like having a life and stuff. That's weird. See, the solution is to get married and have kids so you can't go anywhere and do anything. So then you can just podcast in the evenings.
I do absolutely 100% agree with this Joker voice. I'm
Yes.
actually curious, like, which character is the like magic linchpin where we actually get to announce a Young Avengers
Mhm.
series or movie or whatever we're going to announce with them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know which character they're waiting to introduce before they do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for the night.
Yeah.
But good conversation. Joker voice. We'll see. See you back next week, I hope, and see what you think after the third episode.
See if it
Thank you.
elevates in your opinion.
Yeah, thank you to everybody that joined us in the chat. And Marisha, until next time, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. I am princesses_and_padawans.
Okay, you can find me running the Twitter account for this show at @sa_fictionary. You can find us as well as the rest of the Red 5 Podcast Network at Red 5 Network on Twitter. And you can, as always, drop us a line at thesciencefictionary@gmail.com.
That's it.
Is that it?
That's where we're at.
All right. And until next time, may the force be with you.
This podcast is part of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com.